How goes it, family? Welcome back to another episode of Patterson Up Properties. Glad you guys are able to join me today. Happy Veterans Day to all my veterans out there. Thank you for serving. Greatly appreciate your service to this great country, United States of America, and continue to do what you're doing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that free food, free meals that you got today, or anything free that you got today, because you most certainly deserve it. All right. Now, today's subject matter, we're going to be talking about HBCU grad, real estate investor / mogul, Mr. Mark Whitten. And I just happened to come across an article the other day that reminded me about this great gentleman, Mr. Whitten from Baltimore, Maryland, okay? Even though I'm from the Northern Virginia side of the river and whatnot, and he's from Baltimore, I still consider that close to being the DMV area, so it's all good. Most people have heard from Mr. Mark Whitten, like I did, on his previous episodes on the Breakfast Clubs. I believe he did 2 interviews that I know of, and if he did another one, I have not seen. But I saw 2, and I thought he did a great job, and I got to give credit where credit is due, okay? Now, Mr. Whitten was actually on there because he was partnering up with DJ Envy, because if anybody's ever seen the Breakfast Club, you know DJ Envy actually is into real estate himself, and he has properties all over the place, mainly in the Northeast. And he's actually goes around the country doing real estate events, just like you would see with a Than Barrow or REI Mentor or whomever. And he's actually trying to educate people. And he does it at a way cheaper price compared to the other organizations. He's trying to educate people, especially within the African American and Latino community, on how to get into the real estate industry, or just how to purchase their first home or first investment property, and how to do it in an efficient way so they don't get, in a sense, screwed over in the long run. So I thought it was a great episode, and they have a lot of classes, they have a lot of events, because they want, knowledge is power. They want to spread that information out from a one-on-one aspect so that regular, everyday working people can understand it. I totally get it. What sparked my attention about this article with Mr. Whitten, and even the time he was on the Breakfast Clubs, is that he was talking about wholesaling real estate and how that changed his life and helped turn him into the real estate mogul that he is today. Me, myself, I wasn't too keen and knowledgeable about the subject of wholesaling, and this is about 1.5 years ago. So when I heard about that, I actually did a little bit more research. And if you don't know what wholesaling is, wholesaling real estate is basically when one finds they find motivated buyers and motivated sellers of properties to come to an agreement on 2 different prices for a home. Say the seller is selling their home for $100,000, but you find a buyer that is willing to pay about $110,000, $120,000, $130,000, and you as the wholesaler end up getting a $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 commission, okay? And essentially, like a real estate agent, you just don't have the license, but what you're doing is totally legal. And I learned by reading this article by Mr. Whitten that basically wholesaling changed the way people looked at him, and Mr. Whitten's actually changing the way people view real estate, and he's empowering his community as well. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because that's going to be, not only are the scientists and the engineers and the IT specialists going to change the way that the world is viewed, but the entrepreneurs are going to do that all at the same time. That's just my personal opinion. And trust me, we need more people out there changing the current mindsets and the futures of our young people out there. Mr. Whitten actually graduated from an HBCU, Morgan State University, and transitioned from working in a group home. He had a job just like everybody else, right? Transitioned from working in a group home in Baltimore, Maryland, to a real estate investment mogul. And I think that is just great. This is the great power of real estate when it really boils down to it. And that's why I'm in the real estate business to begin with. One day you could be punching a clock, and then the next day you could be buying and selling real estate and giving more freedom and more choices in your life than you could ever imagine. But most jobs limit people to where that they can live and how much money one can make as well. The great thing about Mr. Whitten is that he is not only in the real estate business, but he's actually has the ability to coach / mentor people through the Real Estate Money Club, and his results has gained him a great reputation throughout his community and throughout parts of the United States as well. And I just say, hey, you keep up the good work, young man, because we're rooting for you. And I just think it's a beautiful thing all at the same time, because like I said, he's from Baltimore, Maryland, and he stated that his mindset is everything when it comes to being successful in real estate. I think it just comes to being successful in anything. He also stated that 95% is mindset and only 5% is real estate. And I was like, you know what? You're definitely right about that, because you can have all the talent and intelligence in the world, but if your mindset is not right, then for the most part, you're not going to get very far, because, you know, mindset takes you there. That willpower takes you there. Just having the information, we live in the hub of the information age, where we're overfilled with information. But what are you really going to do with it? Are you going to implement it? You're just going to sit on it? You're just going to say, oh man, that sounds great, but I don't really want to turn this Netflix off? That's your personal choice. Mr. Whitten stated that in the article that I was reading, that he said, I can teach people how to flip houses, make money, and be a landlord. But do you have the burning desire to be successful? Are you going to take action? Meet sellers, get deals done, meet with contractors, deal with different property managers. You know, because there's work involved in this. It's easier said than done. There's work involved in anything, but especially being an entrepreneur, especially being in the real estate industry, there is work involved. And if you're not willing to put the work in, then just keep on dreaming and watching YouTube videos, because that's the part that a lot of people don't hinge on. There's a lot of work involved, but the work is worth it, because you get up and work every day for somebody else. So why not put that same kind of energy when you get off the clock? Once you develop that burning desire, he stated, to be successful, you truly can do anything in life. I have to agree with that. That's the secret, he stated. And I was like, yep, 100%. He said, we all know that getting into any industry, especially the real estate industry, there's going to be a few bumps in the road. Mr. Whitten stated that getting his first deal was the first biggest challenge. He stated that you have to continue to push and push and push yourself so that you can get your first deal. And that's what I had to do, and that's what everybody has to do. Mr. Whitten said that once you obtain your first deal, it lights a huge fire under you. And I was like, I couldn't agree with him more. Once I got my first investment property, once I got my first wholesale deal, it just lit a fire under me. I just bought some delinquent tax properties. I'm waiting to see how that's going to go. And once hopefully everything smooths out, it's going to light a fire under me. You know, and that's what it's all about. Action, action, action. I get the information 7 days a week, but it's about putting action behind that information all at the same time. Okay. And, you know, I think the beautiful thing about what Mr. Whitten is doing, he's talking about different flipping formulas to his students, and he doesn't just give them the regular commercial spill. He actually gives people the step-by-step system that most people can understand. The question was asked, how do you define wealth? And Mr. Whitten stated that having hard assets is wealth. I couldn't agree with him more. Meaning in real estate that you own a certain amount of houses and making a certain amount of money every month off of those homes passively, then that is wealth. And I couldn't agree with him more on that one, because when you can wake up on your own terms and you do not have to spend 8 to 10 hours in a place that you do not want to be in, it's not only wealth, but it's not about wealth, but it's a beautiful thing that, you know, to have wealth, but it's a beautiful thing called freedom. That's what I'm gonna really get into. When you are free to not have to worry about a 401k, getting to work on time, performance appraisals, and anything else that comes along with having a job. For a lot of people, that's just beautiful freedom. A lot of people love working, and that's cool. I'm talking about the folks that don't want to have a job, but want to be free to be their own bosses. And especially, he talked about a lot, you know, not just having the hard assets, but owning the hard assets. Meaning, because in a place like Baltimore or Reading, Pennsylvania, or Indianapolis or Detroit, et cetera, and so forth, you know, even in Chicago, these are parts of the United States where people can actually, it's not crazy for people to actually own the house without having a mortgage on. You know, places like Kentucky, you know, places like Mississippi, Alabama, the Carolinas, Georgia, parts of Florida. I could go on and on. There's parts of America where people actually haven't had a mortgage on their home for generations. And that's what he's talking about, having that generational wealth. You know, passing it down to your children, passing it down to other family members, because especially in the African American community, we do not have enough of that. And having the luxury of having more free time is the #1 reason why I got into the real estate business to begin with, because I cherish, unlike most people, I really cherish my free time. And if I can have more free time to work on my goals and aspirations, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I hope that those of you that are out there, entrepreneurs, that's your main goal at the same time. Money is a beautiful thing, but it's used as a tool for me. It's not used to impress people. That doesn't do nothing for me. I tell people all the time to make 6-figure salaries. Unless you can stay at home and make that 6 figures, I'm not impressed, because I grew up in the DMV area where most people do. So it's one of those, you know, hey, if you can do it from home, you got more of my respect instead of you doing it from a job. That's been done. Mr. Witten, I got off track, so let me get back to it. Mr. Witten was asked the question, how important is it to maintain generational wealth through real estate in the community? He stated, and I quote, that it's so important. And in his case, nobody gave him anything. He said, I had to get out there, figure it out, and acquire my own rental properties. I know that's right. The importance of it all is that when his son gets old enough to come into something, he won't have to figure it out. It'll already be there as residuals, as I call passive income. These are the things that come in every month. He stated it's important to teach every child to keep it going so that in 100 years we have 2,000 houses, commercial properties, and all of the types of things. I couldn't agree with him more, because the most important thing that is lacking in the African American community is ownership and the passing down of wealth. You can't pass your kid down a job, but you can and definitely pass them down a house, you can pass them down a business, okay? Don't pass them down debt if you can avoid it, okay? Because we are becoming the hardcore debt economy, and I just think that's something we need to continuously think about and talk about and throw it in the everyday conversation as much as what Cardi B or T.I. or any other star is talking about. No diss to any stars out there, but if you're going to talk about them, that's cool, but let's talk about asset accumulation all at the same time, no matter what aspect of assets you want to obtain. That is my little spill, my soapbox on that one. But I couldn't agree with him more, okay? Most cannot say that their children, once they leave high school, daughter, son, here's a home. Here's a business, you know, as your graduation gift, instead of here's an application to just go to college and accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Most of the time, kids are told to just get a job, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's not just let that be the only way. There's always multiple ways, so let's explore those multiple ways. Last but definitely not least, there was a conversation in the article about the surge in people buying real estate in Detroit, Michigan, and how one should go about flipping or wholesaling real estate. Mr. Witten stated, and I quote, that either way you go into real estate, there are opportunities. It's all about where you are in life and what you need. If you don't have any money and you want to learn the business and make money, then I think you should wholesale. I couldn't agree with him more on that. If you got the money, or even if you don't have the money, you can use the loan method and profit off if you flip. It really depends on what you want to do. I myself find both methods to be very successful. I have successfully wholesaled real estate and buy and hold real estate, do delinquent tax property liens, looking into getting into land banking. So if you haven't gotten into the real estate game, there is no better time than today to get it done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share, definitely subscribe, and hopefully you guys have a great day. New year coming, 2020. Let's get this real estate. Take care, family.